Hi, I'm Michael Hopkins, also known as Leisure Muffin, and I've been performing live electronic music for over 20 years. Today, I want to take a minute to give you a brief tour of my current live setup. Basically what I have here is a big old pile of synthesizers, and it sends a couple channels of audio into Ableton Live, which can then monitor, record, playback, and mix that audio. So let's take a closer look at my synthesizer. Okay, so here's the current selection of modules that I would bring to a gig. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail right now. I may make a video that describes this patch in depth later, but for now I just want to give a basic overview. So this 6U case here is what I've been using for performances for the past 3 or 4 years. It's had some refinement, but it's basically stayed the same for some time. Now, I perform using a universal patch. What that means is that when I start my performance, all of these patch cables are already in place, and I access a wide range of sounds and performance styles just by changing the panel settings or minor repatching or additional patching. So let me show you what that means. Currently, this is set up to play arbitrary pitches. And of course, I can also change positions of the knobs on the panels to perform some musical gestures, like, I don't know, maybe like this. Or timbre adjustments, like whatever it may be. Now, by changing the position of this patch, I'm now, instead of playing arbitrary pitches, I'm playing notes that are quantized to a scale. So, okay. Maybe I'll add a patch to add some control over the timbre from the pressure points, pressure output, like this. Okay. Now let me change a bunch of panel settings and set this up basically to be a performance sequencer that's clocked from Ableton Live. So here we go. And I can further change how this behaves by, changing panel settings or, doing some more patch programming. Okay. So that's basically what that does. There's quite a few other things I can do with it, but most of the things fall in the range of either, played and performed notes or changing the settings of a sequencer. There's a couple other little tricky things I do with it, but won't go into that right now. This second smaller case up here, this is something that I put together in the last few weeks for a show, a very long show that I would have been playing tonight if it hadn't been canceled for a global pandemic. But anyway, it just runs a really simple sequenced FM patch. But it does have quite a bit of range too. Let me just show you a little bit of what that might do. Let's see if we can get it working here. Mm-hmm. whatever. You can do a bunch of stuff with that too. All right, let's go have a closer look at what the laptop and controllers are doing. Oh wait, first there's one more thing I wanted to show you, just as a quick tip for other synthesists who might be performing with universal patches. These little right angle cables are really super useful. Bunch of companies make them. I'm using Tendrils. But anyway, the first good thing about them is that they lay flat so that they're actually underneath the depth of the knobs, which means I have a lot easier access than if I just had a bunch of regular patch cables sticking out. And the other thing is that it makes the patch more visually clear. And what I mean by that is that I know if I see a regular patch cable, it's something that is meant to have its position changed during the performance to get to another setting or, kind of performance setup. So yeah, okay, well, let's go ahead and go have a closer look at what the laptop and controllers are doing. All right, here's my controllers and Ableton screen. Now, the first channel here monitors the output of the first case of modules. Let's get that going. All right, there's high and low pass filters here with selectable response and character, so but if I want it to be tighter, I engage this, now I have a tighter filter. And if I engage this, I get a filter with a little more character. That's how that works. Now, I really like reverbs, so I can send this track to a return track with several selectable reverbs. If I push this button, the screen focus moves to the reverb return, and I can see which reverb is currently selected. And then this knob selects through the available presets. These knobs here control a high pass and low pass filter for the reverb. So let's get some reverb going. So my reverb send is here. That's how that works. Okay, I also can send to a delay. The send is here, and similarly to the reverb, I can press this button to focus the screen on the reverb, and then I have various controls for it here. So, I'm sorry, the delay, not the reverb. Let's get that going. All right, so that's my delay. I also have two insert effects for each track. The first one is a frequency shifter or ring modulator, and I mix that in using these knobs here, so let's turn that up. All right, now we got some frequency shift, and I can change the parameters from it here. Change it to a ring mod. Do a bunch of fun stuff there. Alright, let's get rid of that. And the other thing that I have as an insert effect is a beat repeat rack that has a couple parameters that I control here. And that's just on or off. So to turn it on for this track, I engage this button, turns green, and there's my beat repeat. Okay, so now all of those things are available on all of these tracks, but this first track has two extra things that are only on it. It's got a tuner so I can tune up my oscillators and make it match with other musical stuff. And I have this looper device here, which I will come back to how I use just a little bit later. For now, let's just move on to this second track here. So this second track monitors the other case of modules that the simple rhythmic FM patch that I showed you before. So if I push this button here, the screen focuses on that track, and I can, bring it up. There it is, has the same, sends and inserts as the other tracks. Now the rest of these tracks here labeled deck 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they're all just blank tracks waiting for me to record. Now again, I can use these buttons here to select the focus on that track, just so I can see what's going on there with its devices. So this is where I record and play back audio from the synthesizers. I'll get into that a little bit later. This track here sends clock out to the modulator to keep everything in sync. This track here just records the master output. Right now it's recording the audio for this video, but usually I'd use it to record a set. This track here has a little noise gate, and that's because the second modular, even when it's not triggering, I'll turn all the triggers off. You can see that there's a little bit of noise floor happening, and this just gets rid of that before it gets recorded anywhere, so I can cut that noise floor out. And then this final track here is actually a group, and this is my record bus. This is how I determine what is recorded on any of these tracks that are blank, ready to receive audio. I'm going to show you how that works now. So let me start with the caveat that if any of this is actually musically interesting, it will be entirely by accident. I'm just trying to show how this works. I'm not giving it the attention that I would during the actual performance. But that said, let's get something going that we like on the first modular. I don't know, whatever, that's fine. So let's say I want to record that onto deck 3 here. What I would do is record and enable that track with this button here. So now that track's record enabled. And then I'm going to push these buttons here. Are linked to the clip slots, the first 4 clip slots of each track. So this one's for deck 3, deck 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And so as soon as I push this button, it'll start recording into the first slot of deck 3. And when I push it again, it'll stop recording and start playback of a loop immediately. So let me show you how that works. I'll play with this sequence a little bit and record some of it. Whatever, that's fine. So now here on deck 3, I have that recording going. Okay, fair enough. Let's now do another little variation. Here, I'll just put it up an octave and maybe change a couple settings. And let's play with this variation for a while. And I'm going to record it onto track 4. So again, I just record on this track with this button here. I'm going to disable this one. And now let's do another little performance. Now there was a weird little sync glitch at the beginning of that I had to restart to fix, so I'm just gonna actually loop just the second half of this. Okay, that works fine. I also just want to show real quick, this is a cute little thing. I could use this button to switch focus between the clip view and the device view. Just another really handy thing to keep me off the mouse as much as possible. Okay, so I've got a couple little things that I've recorded from the first synthesizer. Let's get something going with the second one and record that. So let's just hear it and find something. Whatever, it's not great, but I'm just gonna record it and move on. Now, the way I do this is I'm gonna arm the next track that I want to record, as I would usually, and then to select the input of the second synthesizer, I'm gonna hit this button. And now the second synthesizer is what's going to the record bus. So we'll just record a little bit of that on here. It's fine. Alright, now we got that going there. Okay, cool. Now I want to come back to the first channel for a second and show the sound on sound looper. So I use this looper mostly for building sustained notes into chords or like a big textural cloud. It's sort of like what guitarist Robert Fripp does with Frippertronics. Real quick, I got to get a patch going here that is playable sustained notes, a little bit of expression. I'm not going to belabor this. I'm just going to go ahead and like go for it. It's not going to be great, but let's just see what it is. Okay, fine. That's whatever. So let's make it match against this, and I'm going to record a little loop. The way this works is when I engage this button, it'll start the looper recording. When I push it again, the looper will start overdubbing on itself, and then I can change some various parameters from these buttons. So let's see what that looks like. Alright, that's fine. Now a couple of things I can change with it. I can make it reverse. So now it's playing backwards. I can record another layer on it now going forward. So you can mix reverse and forward that way. I can also speed it up by double. Or cut it in time by half. Well, factors of half or double. And then generally what I do is once I have something going there that I like, I just drag the file out to another track. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this file onto track 6 here. And then I'm going to go back and clear out the looper here so it's empty and it's not doing anything. Okay. So now I was planning to do a hybrid DJ live set for the canceled performance tonight. And when I'm doing that, what I do is just go ahead and open my browser and select a track I want to play. I'm just going to grab whatever. Here, I'm going to grab this Gladio track. I think this will work because the first couple bars are just a really simple drum pattern. So I'm going to go in here and loop that. Loop a couple bars. I don't know. Here, I'll loop that much. And, usually I'd be monitoring this in headphones first and checking it out, but, maybe we'll get lucky and this will be good. Let's see. Start playing it. And bring that up. Not horrible. So, okay. So now here's the fun part. I have this selection of audio clips that I've recorded and I'm playing back. And now I can sort of perform a mix of all of them and record that. So when I engage this button here, what this does is now the record bus is both of the first, so both of the outputs of the modulars, post fader and post effects, and the effects returns. Now as I engage these buttons, each of these adds its respective track to that record bus. So in this case, I'm going to record, both of the modulars, and decks 3, 4, 5, and 6. There's nothing on 7, that's where I'm going to put it. And you know what, I'm not going to record the track that's just playing the Gladio record. We're going to not record that. So now what I do is make sure I record arm the track that I want to record. And it's the same thing as how I did the other recordings, but this time it's going to record everything. The effects, the position of the faders, panning if I wanted to, any of that stuff. So let's give that a little shot. Oops, that's not looping. All right, so let's do it. see, I have all the stuff I just did recorded to a clip in this track, but without the track. So let that play for a minute. Anyway, that is. Anyway, nothing really special there, but that's the basic idea. I just do that and rinse and repeat, and hopefully with a little bit better, more musical ideas and a little more attention to detail. Okay, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that, please hit like and subscribe for some more. And, feel free to send me hate mail or PayPal at leisuremuffin@gmail.com. Thanks.